Let's move on to our third and final main topic today. And our third and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Colton M, who writes, "Hey, John. Well, they announced that the Obi Wan series for Disney Plus will start shooting next month. Actually, they haven't announced that, but we'll get into that in a second. I did not think it would start shooting this early. Thoughts and thank you." All right, man. Thanks a lot for sending that in. And yes, what has happened let's be very, very clear here about this. They have not announced that they're going to start shooting Obi-Wan next week. When you use the term announced, you're applying that Disney itself or Lucasfilm itself has confirmed that this is what's happening. To the best of my knowledge right now, that is not the case. So let's be really clear that it has not been announced that they are moving. What we do have, though, are reports that they may be doing that. In particular and specifically from the website Making Star Wars, which, by the way, is not an official source, but when it comes to Star Wars stuff, they have a pretty good track record. So let's keep it with a grain of salt, but here's what they had to say over at Making Star Wars. They said, "Making Star Wars' Hollywood sources have informed me that Disney Plus's Star Wars Kenobi is filming at the Train Yard location next month. These sources have been perfect in the past, so I take their information as very solid. This lot in question is their location where The Mandalorian filmed its first 2 seasons' exterior shots. It is a safe assumption that the location will be used for exterior shooting on the Kenobi story too, with interiors at the Manhattan stage or Pinewood Studios. I also assume the location, which was used for Tatooine in The Mandalorian, will double for the desert planet here as well." Once again, this comes to us from the folks over at Making Star Wars. Rob, one of the things that stood out to me, there was no mention of, what's the name of the room they used to shoot Mandalorian again? They call it the
stagecraft.
They're stagecraft, but they call the room something in particular, and I can't remember what it's called. It's not awesome. The tank. It's awesome. It is awesome. It is filled with awesome. At any rate, it is interesting to me that they didn't mention that in the story, because the fact is, we've heard Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, Ewan McGregor, he already talked about recently the fact that they plan to use that stagecraft, they plan to use that room fairly heavily for the Kenobi show as well. Remember, Rob, on the show, we talked about his comments on that. So it's interesting that there was no mention of that in here. Listen, if they actually can, and I'll wait for Disney or Lucasfilm to actually make an official announcement to make this official. But if they are moving ahead, I think it's a great sign because, Rob, we've been getting into this era lately of, to be honest with you, I've needed to adjust my expectations to Star Wars to I'll believe it when I see it. Because in the last 6 months, we've had so many reports and announcements, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and we're doing this, and that's great. I'm not seeing anything happening. It was great. You said you're going to do this movie, you're going to do this project, and we got this, and we got that. I'm not seeing any movement on anything. Granted, we're living in exceptional times, but still. So if they actually do get the ball rolling again and actually get Kenobi into production, I think that'll be a huge, huge deal. A huge deal. Because if they can actually start shooting next month, that theoretically means a Kenobi coming out in 2021 is not just possible, but very viable. Very viable. I mean, they completely shot post-production and had a season of Mandalorian ready to go in under a year. So if they can get shooting on this next month, a 2021 release date for a Kenobi series, totally and easily within the realm of possibility. And I think that would be a pretty good and positive thing. Rob, you've read this report. You've heard what they're saying. Number one, do you think they're actually going to go into production on this next month? Because we heard other people say that it might not actually be until 2021 that they start shooting. And if they do, how significant is that?
Well, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot about things going back into production, and I think the person who did it best so far is Tyler Perry. They just had a series. He has such a huge facility that they have barracks where they have the entire cast and crew live in these barracks. They cannot leave the studio lot. They bring people in, and they shot an entire season of a show at his facility. And God love that guy. I mean, his production facility, what a self-made entrepreneur he is. They did it right. But I do think that obviously with the stagecraft technology, and if they're going to have that facility, it's manageable. It's not like it's gigantic sound stages. I mean, it's a pretty contained place. And if people are quarantining weeks before and they're mindful and diligent, I think they can, especially because they don't need the same size crew that, say, a giant movie might need. They could pull it off. I mean, obviously it's going to be difficult, but we now have movies that are back up and running. They're dealing with very strict health. I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard was writing about how all of the precautions they were taking for Jurassic World, and obviously she's probably still involved with The Mandalorian. And I think if it can be done, and if they're careful, they could probably do that. I mean, people do eventually. How long? This could go on for years, and eventually, I mean, we have the technology to beat this if we're careful, and I think they can be. So maybe they will go back into production.
How significant do you think it would be, though, if they can? Like how, especially with all the things that have been going on with Lucasfilm and things that have been paused and delayed, is this a significant thing for them if they can get this Obi Wan thing up and running right now?
I think it is. I mean, you know, The Mandalorian has been the bright spot of Star Wars for the last couple of years. People are excited about it. People really liked it. Baby Yoda swept the planet. You know, so I do think that an Obi Wan series with Ewan McGregor in the role of Obi-Wan coming back is probably the most positive, most exciting thing for Star Wars fans around the world that I can possibly imagine. I mean, it's as legit as it gets. Bringing back Ewan McGregor in a series that Deborah Chow is directing, all 8 episodes, 6 or however many they're going to do. And she was one of the best directors on The Mandalorian. I just think it's a win-win for everybody. I think it's good for Lucasfilm. I think it's good for Disney Plus. I think it's good for and Star Wars fans around the world. I mean, getting The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan? Come on, dude. That is erection-inducing as far as I'm concerned.
And we should be getting word on a Mandalorian. We should be getting a Mandalorian trailer here any day now, as a matter of fact. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this report? Do you think they are actually going to go into production on this Kenobi thing next month? Maybe we'll have to wait till next year. What do you think about this? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.